Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is April 21st, 2026, and the former Barcelona president, Josep Maria Bartomeu, has come out now with more evidence that Joan Laporta inflated Barcelona's losses. Also, we do have the new artist for the Barcelona kit for the Clasico match. And finally, Yon Diomande on Deco's list, but is it a possibility? We're going to talk about it. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. We'll begin this video with the news that the former Barcelona president, Josep Maria Bartomeu, has come out with new statements, more statements as part of his But Did You Die tour. In other words, as part of his hey, I almost bankrupted the club, but it actually wasn't that bad. It's not my fault, etc., etc. But that's not the important part of these statements. The important part that once again, Bartomeu making the allegations that Joan Laporta inflated Barcelona's losses. And as such, we lost Messi. And of course, we've had almost 6 years of not being under the 1-1 rule, which of course has affected Barcelona tremendously when it comes to signing players. Now, this is what Bartomeu had to say. He started, of course, with defense of his presidency, saying, I have heard it many times talking about that he ruined the club. But it is not true. It is part of a self-serving narrative from the current board that I could accept for a year or two. But more than 5.5 years I have passed, and they are still at it. So I say categorically no. What is true is that Barca suffered from COVID, like most big teams in Europe. And that means that during those 18 months, the club stopped earning around 500 million euros. I am not the one saying it. The audit says it. The auditor states in their report that there are a series of items that the board of directors wants to add. And the losses, which were 283 million, are inflated. Those were the losses. And this also appears at the tax agency. When Barca presents its annual accounts to the tax agency for corporate tax, Barca makes corrections and reduces those 555 million that were approved in the assembly down to 283 million. I believe it has to do with the guarantee, explaining on why would the board inflate the losses. In 2021, they presented a guarantee to be able to be directors when they won the elections. I think they thought about inflating the losses in the fiscal year so that later, if nothing happened, they could reverse them the following year, present profits, and remove the guarantee. So once again, Bartomeu making the allegations that Laporta inflated the losses, that Barcelona lost 283 million euros during the COVID era, but Laporta instead reported that it was 555 million euros, so almost doubling what Barcelona had actually lost on paper in order to, get back that bond. Because when you run for president, or when you become president, I should say, you have to put up a bond where if you hurt the club, that bond gets taken away. So Bartomeu alleging that Laporta inflated the losses. That way him and his investors backing him can get the bond back. Now, what's the new evidence? Of course, we had already heard about Bartomeu saying that the auditor, La Liga's auditor, had said, hey, Barcelona, this is not your actual losses, you're inflating them. But now Bartomeu coming up with a new piece of evidence, which is Barcelona's tax returns, saying that what Barcelona told La Liga was, our losses are 555 million, but what it told its tax agency was 283 million, which of course is according to Bartomeu, the correct number, which I'm surprised not more people are talking about this, because this is serious accusations. And with every passing day, there's more and more evidence mounting that Laporta did indeed inflate Barcelona's losses. And if that's the case, in my opinion, I think that's plenty of reason to remove him, because A, that's fraud. You're defrauding the club members by telling them one thing but reporting another. B, we lost Messi, not only the greatest player in our history, but also our biggest moneymaker, someone that was bringing in 300 million euros per year to the club. So if you take into account the last 5 years, that's a lot of money. That's 1.5 billion euros, which could have easily accelerated Barcelona's financial recovery. And 3, this decision to inflate the numbers is why we're not under the 1-1 rule, why we haven't been under the 1-1 rule for the past 5 years, which of course has done even further damage to the club by making life very difficult signing players, by preventing us from signing players. And this, of course, is not okay because as a president, you're supposed to serve the best interest of the club, not the best interest of your investors who put up a bond. So the fact that not more people are talking about this, I think this is serious. Also, this explains why Messi till this day continues to blame Laporta for his exit. For the longest time, I didn't understand. I was like, why would Messi blame Laporta if it was out of his hand? Well, if Laporta inflated the numbers on purpose, then he was definitely the cause of Messi leaving. But anyways, let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Now, speaking of money, speaking of Barcelona's finances, the club have announced a new source of income, which is a platform where fans can resell their used kits and memorabilia. Now, Barcelona have announced this on their website and social media pages with the following statement stating, FC Barcelona shirts are, for millions of fans around the world, much more than merchandise. They are the tangible expression of a collective legacy built over generations. Until now, these items have been resold through informal, fragmented channels outside the club with no guarantee of authenticity, and with that, the value generated return into the entity that created them. The Barca Innovation Hub, Barca Licensing and Merchandising, and Dree Life have joined forces to change this and position FC Barcelona at the forefront of a fast-growing market segment that until now operated entirely outside the club. So, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona partnering up with Dree Life to bring this new platform where fans can resell their kits, or where you can buy used kits that come with a guarantee of authentication, and where, of course, Barcelona can also make a cut. But this is, of course, great because the resale market is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and now Barcelona will get a cut of that. So any new source of income for me is an absolute great news. Not to mention, this is also protection for the fans because now if you go on this platform and buy a kit, you know they're getting an authentic one, not that you're getting ripped off by God knows who on the internet. So great news. Another source of income and, well, another way for our fans to continue collecting kits and memorabilia. All right, on to the next bit of news because, ladies and gentlemen, while we're still on the topic of finances, the fans, the Sochis, are incredibly upset because we are about to play the first Clasico match at the Spotify Camp Nou in, 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that. And the prices have been released, and I hope you're sitting down for this. Hope you're not drinking water or eating because you might choke. Check out these prices that the club have released. Some seats in the grandstands going for 1,250 euros. As you can see there, second side, 995. The cheapest ticket that I could see was 499 euros. And again, they go all the way up, I think, to 2,000. And that's not even including the VIP seats. Because look at these prices. 12,500 euros, 10,000 euros, 7,000 euros, 4,500 euros. I mean, absolute insanity. Again, to think that the cheapest seat is 500 euros and you're all the way at the top in the corner is crazy. And this, of course, has, well, caused a lot of stir, a lot of anger amongst the Sochis and amongst, well, fans who've been going to Barcelona matches since they were little kids for years, for decades, because these prices, well, they're very unaffordable, and that puts it out of range for most fans. And, well, the only people who could probably afford this are either tourists or, well, very wealthy people who probably not even from the city. So, very unfortunate what I've seen. Let's hope this is a short-term solution because on one hand, I do understand Barcelona's need to, well, make money given the financial situation. Also, we're spending a lot of money into rebuilding the stadium. Makes sense to try to recoup that initial investment, but I really hope this is not a long-term thing because this is only going to alienate the Sochis, the fans, the people who've been going to the stadium for years. And if that happens, if you break that connection between the stadium and its local population, well, then the magic of the Camp Nou will fade. So on one hand, I understand the need to do this in short term. On the other hand, I truly hope this doesn't become a long-term thing. Now, speaking of El Clasico, of course, Barcelona are currently 9 points. Well, they were 9 points ahead of Real Madrid. It's down to 6 now because Madrid just won their match against Alaves, barely. Tomorrow, Barcelona play against Celta. If Barcelona win, the lead goes back to 9 points, which, of course, could mean that Barcelona could win La Liga title in El Clasico. And, well, they could win it with the following kit because, as you know, Barcelona have been, as part of their partnership with Spotify, for every El Clasico match, they replace the Spotify logo with that logo of an artist. And the chosen artist for this year has been Olivia Rodriguez. Yes, Olivia Rodriguez. No idea who she is. Apparently, she's an artist. She's a singer. I had to Google her. I listened to a couple of songs. Not my cup of tea. But nonetheless, that is the artist. And once I did a little bit more research, it started to make a little more sense to me on why Barcelona would choose Olivia Rodriguez. It looks like the majority of her fan base is between the ages of 18 to 25 years old, which, of course, is very important because, as we know, football is losing its interest amongst the young population. And by including a very young artist, this could, attract more more young football fans to the sport and to FC Barcelona. So there's definitely a market that could be exploited. So pretty smart decision by Spotify and Barcelona to include Olivia Rodriguez, even though, again, I have no idea who she is. Now, if Barcelona win against Real Madrid in El Clasico de la Liga, which I think would be absolutely historic to win it at our stadium when it's brand new against our eternal rival. Of course, the fans usually go and celebrate at the Canaletes fountain, but it seems like this year the Canaletes fountain will not be available for celebration, which is an absolute shame because fans have been going there for decades and decades to celebrate Barcelona's trophies. And the reason why it won't be available for celebration, that is because the Las Ramblas, the street where this fountain is located, is currently undergoing major renovation, which, by the way, I saw these renovations firsthand when I was in Barcelona a few weeks ago. Now, if you don't know why Barcelona fans choose the Canaletes fountain to celebrate, it has a historic reason. This fountain was founded 7 years before Barcelona in 1892. But in the 1930s, there used to be a local newspaper called La Rambla newspaper, whose headquarters were right in front of the fountain. And well, back then, TV wasn't common. There was no cell phones or internet. So people would go and stand outside of the newspaper headquarters waiting for the journalist to post up the scores of the matches at the window. So this kind of became a meeting spot for Barcelona fans who wanted to check the score at the headquarters of La Rambla newspaper located right in front of the fountain. Now, in 1939, that newspaper, La Rambla newspaper, was shut down due to the dictator Franco's censorship. So then this fountain became a symbol, of course, for Catalans and for Barcelona fans. And this is why fans always choose that fountain to celebrate their wins. Now, let's end today's video by discussing a player that all of you are always constantly mentioning, who's no other than Yon Diomande, the 19-year-old left winger currently plowing his trade at Leipzig. Probably one of the most promising and electrifying left wingers currently in the world. Someone that is apparently Hansi Flick's #1 option to reinforce the left wing. In fact, because Flick likes Yon Diomande so much, Deco even met with the representatives of the Ivorian attacker. But unfortunately, it's not going to happen. Why? That's because RB Leipzig have stated that they would like at least 100 million euros. They're not willing to negotiate because they have no pressure to sell. They just qualified to the Champions League, which has strengthened their financial standing. So they're not looking to. There's no pressure for them to negotiate or to sell. So the asking price is a minimum of 100 million euros, a price that unfortunately Barcelona cannot afford. Anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. I will be uploading another video shortly, so stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, be scarce.